Welcome back. This is the From A to Z podcast. Today, I'm sitting with another young industry titan. Today, I'm sitting with the social media director at Mediacom. He works on the Coca-Cola brands. He's also been on boards and councils from Cape to Cairo. Most recently, he's been announced as part of the Luris 2022-23 Youth Committee. Guess what, guys? So was I. So that is the reason why we are sitting right here in the Luris offices, right here in Parktown, Johannesburg. Without further ado, let me introduce my guest, Luzuko Tena. Welcome, bro.
How's it? Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for joining me, dude.
Nah, always.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for giving me some of your busy schedule. We're going to find out how you got into advertising, find out a bit about your upbringing, what you're working on, and what you're going to be doing in the future. Are you ready to go from ad to Z?
Let's go.
I know you went to Graham College in Grahamstown.
Yeah.
Are you from around there?
Sure. So it's quite complex. So I was born in Ekabecha, which is most people
PE
still
now.
know it as PE. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Born there, although the nature of my father's job meant that we traveled around quite a bit. So sort of was raised around the Garden Route and Platt and Knysna, bits of it in Grahamstown and in certain stages of my life, in East London as well, and a few areas around the Eastern Cape as well. But the Graham part really was I was in boarding school. Because my parents kind of moved around so much that they just figured out that let me just kind of be stationed in one place. Because that whole thing of moving around and going to different schools.
Bit of that stability type of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Although I didn't have any issues, I was never really I never had that new kid syndrome when I changed schools. And all that, for some reason, I was always kind of, when I was buddied up with someone my first day, I was always buddied up with one of the popular kids.
Put you on.
Exactly. So fortunately for that, but yeah, I think for the most part though, I was in boarding school for the whole of high school in Grahamstown.
What kind of kid were you? I know you just said you kind of make friends easily, I guess. But what kind of kid were you in general? Were you more focused on sports or reading books or what?
Yeah, I did everything actually. I think in school I was literally busy from Monday to Sunday.
Sure.
Where it was either sports. I played multiple sports in school. I was also involved on Rotary committees for Grahamstown. I was involved in the Junior City Council, that side, and I also did some work with the President's Award as well. So was a very, very busy kid, and I think now in my career it's kind of been trying to tap into that without kind of burning out, because obviously when you're younger you have a lot more energy.
Yeah. Right now, like I mentioned in the intro, you're on a bunch of councils and committees and stuff like that. But we'll get into that a bit later. You said that you were an active kid, always down to do something, always busy. But what's one of your favorite adverts that you remember from your childhood?
I don't want to say favorite, but I think the one that two that come straight to my head, top of my head, is probably, or three rather, is probably one is the Cremora, it's not inside, it's on top one.
Definitely, yeah.
As well as there was a Telkom one, which my parents love to this day.
Yeah.
And the third one is probably the very quote-unquote controversial SABC ad, the role switch.
Yes.
And all of that. So I think those are probably memorable, not necessarily my favorites. I can't really think of a favorite. I think for me, if it's memorable, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Stuff, yeah.
So towards the end of high school is that time where you kind of have to figure out, what am I going to do with my life, or at least what am I going to study? It starts there. What made you choose to go study? It was a Bachelor of Science at UCT.
Social science
at UCT.
Yeah.
What made you choose that?
Well, I think growing up, so I have in my family I have two older siblings. I'm the last born, and I think, and my brother and I, the gap is pretty big. It's about a 9-year gap. So I was always pretty close growing up to. We all have a good relationship, but I think I was really the closest with my sister.
We're closer in age.
Yeah.
Okay.
In age, and I think also just in our personalities are very opposite, so we gel really well together
sure.
because of that. And I think to a certain extent, I always wanted to kind of be like her, but more.
What about her that you want to emulate?
Well, my sister's very smart.
Okay.
And I think it is that. But also kind of, I think as a kid, when you kind of have an older sibling and all of that kind of stuff, even if it's they're going through the most, it always seems like they've got things sort of like figured out at that particular stage in their life. So I think that was part of it. But also, I'd kind of like most kind of kids do when they are going through kind of that deciding for varsity stage. I wanted, like, parts of me wanted to do law, parts of me wanted to kind of like do sort of like general sort of sociology stuff and all of that. And I think really it just came down to UCT being the quickest to respond.
Oh, okay.
And it just so happened that I got the quickest response from arguably the best in the content.
Yeah.
So I think for that it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
On that, yeah.
What was your university experience like? I know you played rugby.
Yeah.
What was that? And that obviously adds another layer to your university experience. Tell us about it.
Absolutely. I think again because I was fortunate to play sports in varsity. I think what that helped is also again sort of with the making friends sort of situation because I arrived a lot earlier than a lot of the guys, so than most of the people that were in my year who went there just for school. So also to kind of sort out like the university admin and moving to a new city and all that kind of stuff. So fortunately, because of that, I kind of, like, when day one of classes started, I already kind of had a group of friends, and then it was just a matter of kind of expanding that and growing that over the years. So yeah, I think it really added to that, and I think it also gave me that balance of, because my entire life I'd kind of not just been about the books. There was always something extra to my life. It gave me that balance, and it like I was never kind of swayed to one particular thing. And stuff,
It's good to have that balance. Can't all be books, can't all be sports. Obviously, you're there to get your degree.
Exactly.
You know? I know you were actually something that I want to do one day. You were a TEDx speaker, TEDx UCT.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. What was your topic?
I don't remember what the wording of the topic was, but essentially it was about kind of experiences of it's basically about my experiences from moving from kind of where I kind of was brought up in the Eastern Cape, be it Grahamstown as well as all the other places. It was kind of around that, and kind of having this kind of fish out of water experience, being thrown into Cape Town, where my entire life, pretty much, I went to boys' schools, and now all of a sudden I kind of was in class with girls, and also just going from a space of where everything was led with humility because of how kind of small those spaces were, to kind of being, when I got used to, everything is drilled in that you're at the best, you're one of the best. It's a very big and overwhelming environment.
Is there a sense of pride there?
Well, it's
not in a negative sense, but it could turn negative a little bit.
100%. Like they're very vocal about being the best,
yes,
and stuff, and they want the people there to know that they're part of that. So the TEDx that talk that I did used to was kind of around that, and the experiences of people very similar to me and all of that. But I think also kind of speaking more about the fact that the story of someone who comes from Eastern Cape isn't necessarily one of from rags and stuff. I think it can be a very, for lack of a better term, sort of normal kind of upbringing stuff, and but not necessarily like at the top, but like normal upbringing and all of that, where you didn't necessarily have to struggle for everything. And I kind of wanted to relay that like at the end of the day, like you can come from a particular background and all of that, but I think there's certain nuances that we can all learn from each other.
Yeah, I think falling in that middle class, in inverted commas, sector of things leaves you in a particular position. Cool, you were able to go to universities for your studies, but maybe some people from your area and that didn't get that same opportunity. Actually, I was thinking about this the other day. it's called survivor's remorse, basically. Do you have any like people who maybe, you know, in your hometown that you feel a bit sad for, like when you maybe go back and they're asking for 2 rand? Because I had somebody ask me for 2 rand the other day in my neighborhood, Edenville. Somebody who I went to the same school with, we went to the same parties and all of that, and I guess life took him down a different path. So do you have that survivor's remorse?
I do, but I think it's because I think those people, you find them even in family, and I think I'm very big on initiative. I think I was about 12 actually, where we were at some camp. It was kind of a leadership camp before they choose kind of the
Prefects.
group of prefects for the grade 7 year, and for some reason it still stuck to me, where like we were doing some activity and all of that kind of stuff, and one of the most like least unexpected guys kind of was the winner of that, and it all came down to him showing initiative. And I think from that, like, it was always, like, for me, it was always about kind of showing an initiative in everything I did. So I think with that survivor's remorse, it's been more of kind of also being like I can't feel sorry for everyone, unfortunately, but it's kind of assessing and being like, with where you've had opportunity and all of that kind of stuff, what have you done?
And what have you done with it? Yeah.
But obviously, those who just haven't been exposed to things, like those, I can feel a certain level of empathy towards. But I think you get people who kind of get all the opportunities and throw them away.
Yeah.
And it gets a bit tough to kind of feel for them and stuff like that.
Example is like a fairly rich kid gets the first car at 16 or something like that, goes to all the parties, crashes the car, buy them another car type of thing, and you have to wait until maybe after university or after your first job, second job, third job, then you get a car. And I mean, falling in that middle class gap, it does build, I guess, the dopest people, I guess. I don't know.
Well, Kanye West is an example.
Exactly. He's a genius, dude.
Exactly.
And then you graduated. What was your first job? Was it in paid search, right?
So my first industry job.
Okay, well, let's first job in general. Let's talk about that.
First job in general, I worked at for Amazon in Cape Town. Kind of started through actually like their call centers and stuff, and moved into one of their departments which kind of dealt with like books and all of that kind of stuff. And it was more, wasn't necessarily was got off sort of the phones, and was more kind of about finding solutions and stuff for certain things. And then from that, and I think part of that was also just because from when I kind of figured out that I want to be in the industry, I had earmarked Ogilvy as kind of the place where I wanted to.
It's important to look forward and be like, I want to be there.
100%. And I think in Cape Town, because they have that big red building, it's pretty tough not to miss it and stuff. So it's kind of like whenever you're on the N2 in Cape Town, like if you're aware of it, it's probably one of the first places where you'd be like one day or whatever. So from Amazon got it, and within Ogilvy, they obviously have a grad program, 025 grad program, which I'd wanted to get into. Had applied for 1 year, unfortunately didn't make it, and then but I was very stuck on like being like, the only way I'm gonna get into the industry is through this program at Ogilvy. Also, I think because I think our industry is still very much, what's the word I'm looking for? It's still very much the pools that talent is picked from is still very much the same, I think. And like knowing that I didn't come from a AAA, a Vega sort of background, and I didn't study anything in marketing varsity, it would be a little bit more difficult for me to get into the industry. So I had to find something like a grad program.
To get your foot in there,
Exactly. So second time I was lucky, got into Ogilvy, initially worked on the KFC Africa account. I was fortunate, and it's weird because it's kind of been a common thread in my career where when I was on the KFC Africa team, it was around the time where they were preparing for Soccer World Cup.
Lots of activity there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there was an ad that went very viral during that time, which was a KC ad. And I think like it exposed me to a lot, obviously, in terms of being able to go to like a TVC shoot and all of those kind of stuff. But I realized very soon that client service wasn't my thing, just because I'm a doer and I'm not like, I wasn't there to kind of do all the admin that everyone else was doing. I wanted to do stuff.
Yeah.
So moved into the media side of things. I think so the grad program is about a year. It's a year program. Then at the end of it, it's either you get an offer or not. Moved into the media side of things. At the time it was called Neo. It's called Social Lab now.
Yeah.
Moved into there. And I think within about 3 months of being there, I was told that they'd like to give me an offer.
Dope.
And all of that. But obviously I had to wait out the entire year to finish the grad program and stuff. So that's how I kind of got into the media side of things and covered the full spectrum really of paid, from strategy to media planning to search to social, which is kind of where the lane that I decided to stick in.
Yeah. So now you've worked your way up to social media director, which is obviously, it's not just paid. It encompasses all of those touch points. What is your day-to-day role at MediaCom?
A lot of admin.
Okay.
A lot of admin, a lot of meetings, and then 9 to 5 is meetings, and then you work 5 to 9 really. But it's a lot of kind of, I think now, because I've only been in the role for about close to 4 months, there's still a lot I'm learning. The Coca-Cola company is massive, and I think my team, so we're in charge of all the brands. So we're talking plus minus 12 brands in about 57 markets in Africa. So it's literally kind of having to check that everything is right. It's one of those I think it's one of those clients where the margin for error is quite big. So like for mistakes as well. So you constantly have to check if everything is set up correctly and all of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of alignments that need to happen, because particularly in the performance space, we change as we see things, how they perform, and that kind of
stuff.
Got
to optimize as you go.
Exactly. Yeah. So a lot of alignment there. And I think now it's also been kind of putting together processes and all of that and ways of working for how we'd like to kind of see social happen for Coca-Cola company rather across Africa and stuff. So yeah. So you basically oversee what the social media team is doing on that paid media team, and what other team would report to you? Well, it's
or would you oversee?
Yeah, so it's mainly paid social. Okay. The sort of the more organic side of things sits with the team, which they called CIC, which is part of Wonderman, because the Coca-Cola sort of thing with it's a WPP win, so it's a multi-agency kind of project.
It's a big cake. You got to cut it up.
100%. So the organic guys kind of sit there, but obviously they rely quite heavily on us and myself on support on quite a few things. And all of that, although they don't report directly to me, but
there has to be that alignment.
Exactly, and a lot of the processes we create for our team kind of work for them as well. So essentially my team is pretty much just kind of the paid social guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about earlier in your industry, or somebody who made a big impact in your industry early on that's kind of you keep in your mind till this day.
Yeah. It was probably, his name is Brad Page. He was the managing partner at Neo Social Lab at the time, and because part of the grad program at Ogilvy is that you get assigned a mentor within the agency, and I was assigned a mentor. I think again there just wasn't a click, and I approached Brad and I was like, listen, let's do this. And he was so eager and passionate about it and all of that kind of stuff, and really pushed me like to my limit. So I think it was him, but also Paula Halley, who was at the time she was MD of the digital side of Ogilvy in Cape Town. Then she moved on to be CEO of the IAB, and now she's doing something else. But she also had a very, very important role in kind of framing that and growing, I guess, my brand within the broader industry and stuff as well. So those two people.
Speaking of growing your brand in the industry, like you said, like I said, you've been on all these councils and committees. I'm just gonna list them quickly. IAB, and this is not all of them. IAB Youth Council, IAB Transformational Council, Bookmarks Awards Committee, Mail and Guardian, 200 Young South Africans 2022. That's a huge one. And most recently, Lurie's Youth Committee 2022-23, which I'm a part of. Like I mentioned, you seem very proactive and you have this ability to put yourself out there and go for what you want. Obviously. Tell us about that, and why do you feel like you need to put yourself on Front Street all the time? Are you trying to represent the youth? Is it more for your career? What's the mission behind this?
There's a lot of things that frustrate me, and I think a lot of that passion. But I also have a passion for change, and I think when you put those two things together, that's kind of the driving force behind a lot of things. It's certainly why, for example, like a few years back, I approached IAB with regards to the Youth Action Council and all of that kind of stuff. And it's because there was something I was seeing in the industry, and I was like, well, someone has to do it.
Tell us about the council. Tell us a bit about the council and what that work is actually.
So the IAB Youth Action Council, how it started, obviously, I approached Paula because I had a relationship with her. Approached her, I was like, listen, I'm at this weird stage in my career where it's kind of like, because when growing up, particularly like when you like myself, where you kind of were pretty active in school, growing up, it's kind of like you like, because I'm a very goal-driven person, so I need to know what it takes to sort of unlock the next level.
Yes,
whatever.
yes.
And I think growing up, you kind of presented those opportunities where in school, if you tick 1, 2, 3 boxes, you have a good chance of being something. In varsity, it's pretty much the same, but when you work, it's not quite the same. Like, you see people kind of progress into leadership positions
in different avenues,
exactly.
Basically. Yeah.
But like you don't really know how they got there. Like it's like if I'm a creative, like I win a lot of awards, and like that could be the thing that kind of gets me there, but it doesn't necessarily say anything about my capabilities as a leader.
Or how do I start from graphic designer to creative designer type of thing? What is that roadmap like?
You see, so because of that, I and like speaking with like various peers in the industry, like the frustration and like the not knowing how to kind of unlock that next level was something that we all shared. So I spoke to Paula. I was like, is it possible if we can kind of start this? I know obviously the IAB is a bureau that kind of focuses mainly on the digital side of things, but I think you need that spark to kind of encourage everyone else, like the Luries, like everyone else on like various bodies within the industry. So that was the idea, and like it started off as like the idea was framed around it being a program where there's a different group every year. But I think I quickly flagged that when it's run like a program, you run the risk of not having momentum, because particularly when you're talking about topics like transformation, like if the one group comes in hot, it could upset quite a few people, which means it's a matter of kind of putting that group on ice until the next group comes in and we're able to start from scratch. So it was very important that it was a council like all the other groups within the IAB, and essentially how it's, just to briefly describe it, IAB has councils and committees. Councils are pretty much, the committees are pretty much formed around a particular subject matter. So for example, there's one on content marketing, and they have a particular job, and once that job is done, then the council and then the committee can dissolve.
Okay.
Whereas the councils are more kind of long term, and more kind of sit on a more strategic level. So it was very important that the Youth Action was a council, because also it meant that as a council, we have a seat on the Manco, we kind of have a seat, I guess, at the broader table, and are there when it comes to certain decisions and all of that kind of stuff. So it wasn't just about being an exercise for optics. We had to kind of have the same kind of power that everyone else have
Yeah.
to make that necessary change.
Yeah. So how are you actually affecting change? So you say you sit in the meetings on the Manco. Other than having your opinion on certain stuff, what else do you get to do?
So a lot of our so as a council we kind of have various kind of projects that we do, and they focus on a lot of the stuff that we don't have access to, for example. So things like access is a big thing that we speak about, and access in terms of like thought leadership opportunities
From
where-
from inside the industry.
yeah.
Yes,
So
yes.
so for example, thought leadership where it's kind of like when there's an event or when there's a panel discussion, having people from not just our group as the Youth Action Council, but young people, young voices on those panels. Because, for example, you get a lot of people releasing sort of Gen Z reports, and
Yeah.
they 2 generations removed from Gen Zs and stuff. So it's about having kind of the relevant people in those
Yeah.
spaces. Even as far as kind of the bookmarks and the judging panels there, and having a youth only judging panel, but also opening up all the other panels to having youth representation in them as well. So it's that kind of impact. We speak a lot as a group about kind of about mentorship as well, and we have a program that we run on mentorship too. So it's about those opportunities as well, kind of being the people that we think we didn't have for kind of the next generation of the industry, and all of those things, and obviously also just advising on general IAB stuff. I think the CEOs, Paula, in the past, as well as Razia currently, have been very good at consulting with us when they want to make certain decisions when it comes to IAB, just because they know just as much as the boards and all of that can agree to it, but it needs to land with a particular group of people.
Listen to the kids, bro.
Exactly.
Listen to the kids. You said that Kanye said that. Second Kanye reference. I think it is important to have the youth's voice in these big rooms. There's nothing worse than decisions being made for you and it's kind of off track.
Exactly.
Yeah. Dude, you seem like a major organizer. You seem super active, super ready to do things and make change for other people and yourself. If you weren't in advertising right now, what would you be doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Politics?
Never. Like, I think I'd be in a space with people, and I think the marketing, advertising, media spaces are where I think the I guess the impact I'd like to make in the world. I think those spaces kind of are fit for me to do it in and stuff. So it's very difficult to imagine myself out of it.
Yeah. Dope. This next segment, I hope you're ready. It's called All Up in Your Business, All Up in Your Business. Now, some of your profiles are private, so I didn't find too much, but I did find some interesting stuff that I would like to show you. And if you can give me context on it, tell me what you're thinking and what is going on. Are you ready?
I'm nervous.
It's a safe space. I tell everybody this, it's a safe space. I got you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
This one, first one from your Facebook. It says, it's from 6th of November, 2018. The biggest weapon is to stay peaceful. This is a fact. But tell me what you were thinking.
I think that was a quote from somewhere.
Okay.
I don't know what my where I was in my head, because that's 2 days before my birthday. So I don't know what I was thinking. I know that it's probably, I know it. That's from, what's this song now? Glory. And Common's one of my favorite rappers, and that's one of his lines in the song.
Biggest weapon is to stay peaceful. It's a fact. I just wanted to I just wanted to understand what you were talking about here. Next one, which we mentioned, you got, you're part of the Mailing Guardian, 200 young South Africans. Imagine how many young South Africans there are. And out of 200, you are one of them. Tell us about this, what it means to you. I mean, you've been part of lots of committees and councils. I think this is a huge one. So is the Luri's one. But what does it actually mean to you?
To be honest, it still hasn't really sunk in. And there's various reasons for that. But I think more than, and like my friends have kind of shouted at me quite a bit about it, and just the fact that I've been pretty nonchalant about it. But I think it just hasn't registered.
It's a big deal, dude.
But I think the great thing about it is the fact that it's a platform that kind of gives, what's the word I'm looking for? It amplifies the work that not just myself but the groups I'm involved in are doing, and therefore it kind of it puts that work possibly in kind of on the right people's tables and all that kind of stuff to unlock partnership and big opportunities, because I think at the end of the day that's the main goal for me, is to kind of see a lot of the stuff that I'm part of kind of grow and do bigger and better stuff. And things like this, I think are for that reason, and I hope kind of unlock those opportunities, not just for myself, but more so kind of for the things I do and for the groups that I'd like to kind of, the lives that I'd like to impact with those things.
And what about at home? I'm sure they're super proud of you, dude.
My sister is my dad. My dad obviously doesn't. He like, for him it's like, okay, cool kind of thing. Like just because he's obviously not as privy as my sister or my siblings would be about mailing God in 200 young South Africans. I'm actually going home in 2 days' time, so I think I'll see the reactions there. The last time I think I was in a newspaper was, I think I was about 10 or 11.
What were you doing?
And it was actually a very controversial thing, and it was kind of a racism incident that my dad kind of was calling out and stuff like that. So it's really awesome all those years later to kind of be in a newspaper for something very different. And I've actually got a copy of the newspaper, which obviously I'll be giving to my pops to kind of keep as well.
Sure, that's dope. Nah, man, I'll say this much: your profile is booming.
Appreciate it.
I want to talk about this one. 25th January 2017. Not a single good luck text or call throughout my undergrad. Godwa, you're on my case on some usjisa nini inyama. We see you guys. That's a real fact right there. Tell me about it.
I think that one is pretty much around kind of the things we face as, I want to say, as young black people, where as soon as you kind of, as soon as something happens in your life, even when it's your birthday, a lot of people kind of they'll say happy birthday and be like, what are the plans? But they're not asking what the plans for kind of to treat you on your special day. They're expecting you to kind of treat everyone on your day. And I think that kind of speaks to that, where it's like, as soon as I graduated, everyone is expecting this big celebration, all of that kind of stuff. And I'm a very low-key person, and all of that. So like, I celebrate moments and certain things like in my own way, and it's one with kind of with people that were there with me during those journeys, and not kind of an open gates for everyone. And all of that.
It was important to celebrate the big and the small things, like you said with the mailing guardian, 200 young South Africans. It hasn't really sunk in yet, so make sure when you go home in 2 days, you celebrate. I don't know, are they slaughtering or anything?
Well, they should.
They should, bro. Last one. Interesting, because I also didn't attend mine. The closer my graduation day gets, the less excited I get about it. Is this a normal thing? I was never excited about it. I knew that I passed. I just wanted to get my paperwork, get out of there. But years later, I regret not going. Young me was thinking it's too cool. There's other things I should do, and I super regret it. Tell me about your experience.
This
was from UCT.
So I think it was because like towards the end of my sort of university, my time in university, it was like Fees Must Fall happened, a lot of disruptions, and all of that kind of stuff. So like it became more of just really just wanting to get out of the space and stuff. And I think
you were done with it.
Yeah. I know, and I think like it's because it obviously mentally takes a toll on you as well. And so I think it was part of that. But also, there's a lot of admin that comes with like the whole graduation day.
You gotta
and
get a
just
suit.
process and-
Everybody's gonna want to be at your house,
Exactly.
getting ready with you, asking you stuff. Listen, oh my
See,
gosh.
So that's why I think like the closer I got to it, I was like, this is a lot actually and stuff.
But you
And
did
that's
attend,
why-
obviously.
No, 100%. Like my parents would like if I wasn't attending, they were gonna go like, without me.
Collected for you, like yeah.
Exactly.
Dope. Now that's dope. Final question. What's your favorite song right now, dude?
Sure. Right now, I've been listening a lot to like older stuff. No, actually, I'm lying. A favorite song right now is there's an artist who I listen to quite a bit. His name is Toby Nwigwe.
Oh yeah. With all those dope colored, monochrome type color music videos, he goes crazy. Yeah.
So I think one of I actually don't have a favorite song from him that I can pick.
What
top
is
of my
it?
head. I can tell you what my
Play
favorite song is.
us. What's Try Jesus?
Jesus.
Yeah, that's my ish. I live by that. Yeah.
But I think my favorite song of all time actually is probably, which I listen to quite a bit, is probably the extended version of Kanye's Runaway. I genuinely think right next to Bohemian Rhapsody, that's probably the best like song ever and stuff. Just not because of like lyrics, not because it's just a nice song to listen to and stuff. And I think that's probably my favorite song of all time that I listen to quite a bit. And the whole of everything that Jay-Z's ever put out.
For sure. I'm loving his grown man raps.
Yeah.
444, come on, I still jam that to this day.
Yeah.
44, yo, that's an album right there. But you survived all up in your business. I told you it's a safe space. It was cool.
No, I was nervous.
You know, I'm sure you hadn't thought about some of those posts for years, right?
I use Facebook for work now, or it's like to check whose birthday it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so but now you survived it. You survived it. Words for a young Luzuko out there. What would you tell a 12-year-old Luzuko? Or fast forward and tell a 52-year-old Luzuko something.
52-year-old. If I'm still working, then like, why?
Word, yeah.
Because
I think as we get, our generation wants to retire earlier and earlier.
100%. Like, so it'll be a lot of that. But also I think it'll be kind of the, like, have you made your younger self proud? And all of that. And I think I'd like to say in a very modest way that I think I'm on my way, and I think I'll be able to answer yes to that. I think my younger self, not very different to my current self. I think there's parts of my younger self that I crave kind of tapping into, just because I'm like, there was like I did a lot of things with excitement, and I never want to get to things and it feels like a task.
Yes.
It feels like a job, and all of that. So I think that's kind of that. It's that, and
you want to tell yourself to keep that, basically.
Yeah, and just whatever you thought, just carry on with it, and all of that. Yeah.
Now you're on the way, dude. You're on the way. Are there any creatives from South Africa or Africa that stand out to you or that inspire you? Could be an artist, a graphic designer from MediaCom, anybody that stands out to you.
I'm gonna plug my friends.
For sure.
So I have two friends. They have a music group called Docufiction. They're actually a couple. They're married. They're very passionate about what they do, and I think they drive each other, and it's a great kind of. They've got that balance of kind of driving each other, not just in kind of their personal relationships, but also in their work relationships. So they kind of inspire me a lot in terms of what I do. Also just as individuals as well, just because I have close relationships with the both of them. And then there's one of my friends as well who was actually one of the people I kind of consulted with a lot when it came to the Youth Action Council for the IAB. To this day, like she's literally like my reference check for everything and stuff like that. She's a creative director at VML YNR. Tsegofatso Petle. She's also kind of doing amazing things as well. Like she's won Grand Prix at Lurie's. She recently won something at Cannes.
Sure.
Last night, her and her team won a couple of bookmarks as well. And I think there it's also it's a kind of a shared kind of it's a shared passion for change and stuff like that. So she's one of the people within the industry. I'm trying to think of more names just because I don't feel like I'm missing anyone out.
Yeah.
But I think general statement, anyone and everyone who are friends of mine that kind of are doing stuff creatively and all of that really inspire me to kind of be my better self in whatever I do.
Shout out to those young people doing things.
100%.
So African, or let's call it African and Middle East, since we representing Luris right now. You feel me, Luris? Yeah. The communications and advertising industry. What do we need to take it to the next level to compete with America and them?
Nothing. I don't think we need to. They're not the standard. I think it's weird because it's kind of like the whole when you win an NBA, when you win NFL, you consider the world champ.
Yeah, we don't even play American football here. What world are you talking about?
Literally, it's literally their own world. Yeah. Things like award shows that happen outside of Africa are usually considered international or global ones and stuff, and we don't consider like the bookmarks, the luries. Well, the luries kind of covers a wider area, so that. But I think also the luries, we don't necessarily think of them as like global or international.
We know it's Africa, Middle East,
exactly,
yeah,
and stuff. So technically, it should be looked at on the same kind of standing.
So you mean like the work that's there should be global,
100%,
seen on the global scale, yeah.
Yeah, like if I win a Luries sort of award, like I should be able to say that I've won an international award.
Yes,
and I shouldn't wait to win kind of like something at Cannes to say that just because I'm
an international award winning.
Exactly.
Yes.
You see, and stuff. So I definitely think we've definitely got what it takes in Africa. We've known that for a very long time. I think it's just a matter of us kind of really seeing that and seeing that we actually don't need the validation of people outside to kind of be like, we're finally doing it. And I think you see it quite a bit in Nigeria and what they've been able to do with Afrobeats.
Yes.
And the fact that it's they've grown it within Nigeria and the world had to adapt to it. We're seeing that probably with Amapiano now and all of that. And I think within our industries, a lot of things, I think best practice is defined as I think as what's good for the market that you're working in. It's not a sort of practices that kind of what worked in Europe has to work in Africa, because that's definitely not the case. I think I was speaking with colleagues on Friday last week, and I was speaking about the fact that you can have an American culture, you can have a European culture, but it's very difficult to say you have an African culture just because there's so many nuances within countries and stuff that various groups of people have. So I think for us, we need to kind of look and be like, best practice and the standard is what's good for our markets, and not kind of always being like, does it please the West and all that, because we'll forever be chasing if we do that.
Dude, thank you for that answer, because I might have played myself. You're 100% right. We are our own world stage. Let's see it like that.
Yeah.
And you're working on one of the biggest brands, noticeable brands in the world, Coca-Cola. What's another big brand you'd love to work on one day?
I think Nike. Definitely like to one day go on Nike, and I'll probably get into trouble for this just because our agency, Adidas, is one of our clients,
okay.
but I don't have affiliation to it because
you're on the team Coca-Cola.
Yeah, but definitely I think Nike, just because again they sell shoes, they sell clothes and all of that kind of stuff, but it's more about kind of making the world a better place through the messages and all that kind of stuff that they do. So definitely would like to, I think Nike's kind of at the top. And yeah, I think for the most part, I've been pretty happy with who I've worked on up until this stage. So it'll definitely have to be Nike. Actually, probably, yeah, Nike.
Yeah.
Nike.
We're running out of time. But what's one of the past campaigns or brands that you're really proud of working on?
Brands that I've worked on in the past, which I was pretty proud of, I guess, was there was one called DNA for Africa, which I worked on very briefly when I was at Ogilvy Social Lab, and essentially, and there's been quite a bit about it in the news as well. It's essentially what it's about. It's an NGO that was started by a lady, and it's about kind of clearing the DNA backlog when it comes to cases of rape and stuff. And I think that was a proud moment, just because it was, for once, like it wasn't about like selling something, and like the focus wasn't necessarily on the bottom line, but it was about kind of making an impact and a change and all of that kind of stuff. But I think, so it's definitely have to be DNA for Africa. But I think I've done some work also on a range of brands on different industries. I think the most fun was probably working on Viacom across all their various brands like MTV Base, Comedy Central, and all of that kind of stuff. Did some stuff for the roast of AKA and all that kind of stuff. So like those kind of brands have been really cool and fun to work on. But I think DNA for Africa is the proud one.
Dope. Like I said, guys, we're here at the Lurie's offices right here, Parktown, Johannesburg. I've been with Luzuko Tena, part of the Lurie's 2022-23 Youth Committee. Alongside me, I'm alongside him. We're here at the offices. Dude, please give us a couple final words for the From A to Z listeners, young people who want to enter the advertising industry, people who are in the advertising industry and they want to grow themselves.
Yeah, I think, like, don't doubt yourself. And it's something I've been saying a lot over the last couple of months, is that there's never been a better time to be different than now, just because I think COVID threw us all off.
Yep.
Threw every single rule in the book, like it threw it out, like from the whole having to be in the office every day and all of those kind of things, and having to adapt to a new world. And that's why I think there's never been a better time to be different, just because the world is desperate for something that is different from what's currently been getting done. And I think also if you have an idea and if you really want to do stuff, just back yourself. Like, again, I spoke about initiative. Like, no one's asked me to do like stuff. Like, it's just a matter of me being like, someone has to do it, and all of that. And I don't want in 10 years time, like I don't want to be a guy where, if I'm fortunate enough to kind of be like an MD or a C-suite in some agency or some sort of brand, I don't want sort of the interns to kind of look at me and be like, that generation, you guys still speaking about transformation, but nothing's happening.
What have you done for us?
You see, so that's why I think it's very important to kind of really just back yourself and do what you need to do.
Yeah. Back yourself, do what you need to do. What I need you all to do right now is hit that subscribe, like, share this on all your social platforms, make the ting go boom. This has been the From A to Z podcast with Luzuko Tena. Thank you so much for joining me, brother.
Appreciate it.
This has been the From A to Z podcast. We out.
From A to Z, it's plain to see. This podcast is about people in my industry. Writers, designers, social media managers. Don't forget the data miners. HRPR, find out who they are and how they made it this far. From A to Z, talk about your family, talk about the goals you reach, talk about the plans you see. Let's get it. Welcome aboard. I'm your host, PK Mugweni, and this is the From A to Z podcast.